In this lesson, I'm going to explain to you what paragraph text is, or otherwise known as a text box. So go to page 2 here. Now I'm going to create a text box and show you how that works. Now to do that, we come up to this flyout up here, our text modes flyout. We left click on that, and we see this paragraph text option. We click on that. You see our cursor changes, and if we left click and drag, we can drag that out, and the program will give us some measurements here. Let go of that, and that creates a text box, as you can see. Now I've copied some text to the clipboard, so I'll just paste that in, and as you can see we have this text that's been pasted in from the clipboard, and we have this text box. Now if I go up to this pick tool up here, click on that, we actually get information about this text box in the second row of tools, plus some options and tools for the text box itself. So here we have its position, we have its size, and we have some options here, and we have the particular font that it's been set to, the font size, as you can see, and you know, whether it's stretched or whatever. We can set bold, italic, underline, and all these sorts of things up here. So there's a lot of information about a text box, as you can see up here, to let us know exactly what we're doing. Now some of the things you can do with a text box are set things like horizontal alignment. The reason you can do that is because a text box, or text within a text box, wraps to the edge of the text box. So if I change the size of this text box, you can see the text is automatically fitting or refitting itself within the boundaries of this text box. So the text is in a sense wrapping to the inside of the text box, as you can see. And that gives us quite a bit of control about what we can do with this text, as you can see some of these extra tools up here. Now if I, for example, turn these into individual paragraphs, these sentences here, you can see everything's blocked to the left. Now I can block all this to, say, the right. If I select the text box as a whole here, and I come up to this drop down here, and I can go align text to right, as you can see here. I can align it to the center. I can flush justify it, so it wraps nicely to the edge here, and every time I adjust this, you can see that it tries to fit it in as best it possibly can here. And the other thing I can do is I can actually individually set these paragraphs within this text box. I go to, say, the text tool here in text mode, and I'll select this text here, and I'll change that from flush justify to center. And you can see that this remains flush justify. This becomes center here, as you can see, and this here is flush justify. Now I could make this side of it, by selecting over it like this, right, align to right. So these are the sorts of controls we have over our text within a text box, and they're very handy things. So I'll undo that for a moment, and we'll just set this back to, say, one big block of paragraph text, and I'll show you some more of the advanced tools that you've got with text boxes. If I just drag this out a little bit, you can see here that this particular word here is carrying over, and we don't want that to happen. We want to try and somehow fit this back into here, but we want it to look good. Now an advanced tool that we've got at our disposal here is the Elasticity tool. So if I go into, say, object mode, and I come up to this advanced tool here, I've got some of these advanced tools. Now these tools have got some of their own lessons, so you can watch those independently, but the Elasticity tool is a very interesting one. At the moment it's set to 10%. Now if I adjust that to, say, 20% or 30%, you can see what's happening. It's fitting this in better. So I'll try, say, 15%. Okay, we'll try 20%. Say 23%. And you can see here what's happened. It's actually managed to fit this in. It still looks nice and centered and laid out. However, it's a nice perfect fit now. So Elasticity is a great tool for forcing your text to fit nicely along the edges there. If I click off the text box, you can see how nice and aligned everything is there. So these are the sorts of things you can do with a text box. Now there's many other things you can do. I'll just reset this back to left justify. And what we can do is we can actually set things like indents. So if we like to have an indent, as say, like we might want to indent this particular line of text, we come to this range of tools, and we get all these tools that are related to text boxes and text. And here's the indent tool. And I can set that, so I can set, like, say, the indent, as you can see, and I can apply that to any paragraph within the text I like, as you can see here, by applying things like this. So that's how this indent tool works. So that's another good thing you can do with a text box. I'll just undo that. Okay. Okay, another example of the sorts of things we can do is set the actual number of columns. So if I select the text box here, you'll see I get this option up here. At the moment this text box has got one column. I can make it 2 columns, I can make it 3 columns, and so on and so forth. What I'll do is I'll go carried return a couple of times and I'll type in some additional text here. So you can imagine you've got a quite a complex piece of artwork that you're working with lots of text in it. And you'll see that once I've gone over and I've put in more text than actually can be shown in the text box, you get this little circle appear down the bottom right hand corner. If I delete that text now, you'll see that circle disappears. So when you see a little circle in the bottom right corner there, that indicates there's text flowing past the text box. And you can see how I've got these columns here. I can also adjust the width of this, the space between the columns by adjusting this, as so, this measurement here. Now all the normal tools such as the alignment, horizontal alignment applies, like flush justify, as you can see. So I can flush justify this, so I can actually create like a newspaper type print if I wanted to. And these are the sorts of things you can do with the columns. So I can have, say, 3 columns, and I can then adjust the width. So I can spend a bit of time with some of these advanced tools that I've shown you up here, some of these tools here, along with horizontal alignment, to set different things within a text box. And of course text within a text box can also be modified as much as you like as well. Like for example, I can make that red, or I could make that bold, or I could make it, say, italic, or bold and italic. I could underline that. You know, I have full control. Text remains as text in a text box. I have these additional controls about how I wrap it to the actual text box, as you can see here. So text boxes are a very powerful way of handling big blocks and slabs of text, allowing you to do all sorts of things, as you can see. So just remember that when you're in object mode or in text mode, you get this lot of tools in the second row here. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of these tools have their own lessons, so you can learn more about particular things like text wrapping and inserting things and adjusting spacing and all sorts of things. And don't forget, with text, as always, you can right click, and you have lots of right click tools here. So you've got text box tools in the right click, and you can apply and adjust things as so. And that's text boxes and paragraph text in the program and working with text, and that's the end of this lesson.